The courthouse doors closed behind me with a dull, final thud that echoed louder than any argument my ex-wife and I had ever had. In that single sound, 12 years of marriage dissolved into silence. I remember standing on the courthouse steps under the pale afternoon sun, holding a thin folder that contained the papers proving my life had officially fallen apart. But what happened next, what her sister whispered just moments later, was something I never could have imagined in 1,000 lifetimes. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel, Touch of Kindness. Your support helps more stories like this reach hearts around the world. My name is Arman Qureshi, and the day my marriage ended felt like the day my identity vanished with it. Divorce wasn't something I ever thought would happen to me. For years I believed love could survive anything, long work hours, misunderstandings, financial stress. But slowly, almost invisibly, the space between my wife Nadia and me grew wider until it became impossible to cross. By the time we stood before the judge, we barely looked at each other. The signatures came quickly, almost mechanically, as if two strangers were finalizing a small business transaction instead of dismantling a shared life. I expected anger or grief afterward. Instead, there was just an emptiness that followed me like a shadow. Outside the courthouse, the afternoon traffic hummed softly. I was preparing to walk away when I noticed someone standing near the steps. It was Nadia's younger sister, Zara. She was 3 years younger than Nadia, someone I had always known as the quiet observer in the family, the one who listened more than she spoke. She approached slowly, her long dark hair swaying in the breeze. There was something unusual in her eyes that day, something deeper than sympathy. She stepped close enough that only I could hear her voice. Then she whispered something that stopped time. "Be my husband." For a moment I thought I had misheard. My mind struggled to process the words. The world around me, the cars, the pedestrians, the courthouse, blurred as confusion flooded my thoughts. Zara quickly looked away, as if even saying the words had taken every ounce of courage she possessed. She didn't explain herself. She simply walked past me, leaving behind a storm of questions I had no answers for. That whisper stayed with me for days. The first week after the divorce felt like wandering through a fog. I moved out of the house Nadia and I had shared and into a small rented apartment across town. The place was quiet, too quiet. The ticking clock in the kitchen sounded louder than it should have. The evening stretched endlessly, and the absence of familiar routines left a strange hollow in my chest. Friends tried to comfort me, telling me that time would heal everything. But healing felt far away. And yet, Zara's words continued echoing in my mind. At first, I convinced myself it had been a moment of emotional confusion. Maybe she had meant something else. Maybe I had misunderstood. But the memory of her voice had been too clear, too deliberate. 2 weeks later, I ran into her again unexpectedly. It was a bright afternoon at a small neighborhood grocery store. I had gone there simply to escape the loneliness of my apartment. As I pushed my cart down one of the aisles, I suddenly noticed Zara standing near the fruit section. She looked surprised to see me, but she didn't walk away this time. Instead, she smiled gently, an expression filled not with awkwardness but with quiet understanding. In the soft daylight streaming through the store windows, she seemed different from the person I had known for years. There was a confidence in her posture that hadn't been there before. We spoke briefly about ordinary things, how work was going, how life had been since the divorce. But underneath those casual words lingered the weight of what she had said outside the courthouse. Finally, she looked directly at me. There was no embarrassment in her eyes now. Only sincerity. She explained something that changed everything I thought I knew. For years, she had watched my marriage closely. She had seen how hard I worked to keep things together, how often I put my family's needs before my own. She had seen the effort, the patience, the quiet sacrifices that most people overlooked. And she had also seen how lonely I had become long before the divorce. Zara admitted that she had respected me long before she understood why. She admired my kindness, my sense of responsibility, and the way I treated people with quiet dignity. Her whisper outside the courthouse hadn't been impulsive. It had been honest. But she quickly added something important. She wasn't asking for an immediate answer. She knew how complicated the situation was. She simply didn't want to hide the truth anymore. After that conversation, life began to shift in ways I didn't expect. Zara didn't pressure me. Instead, she simply became present in my life in small, meaningful ways. Sometimes she would bring homemade food when she knew I had been working late. Sometimes she would invite me to walk through the city park on sunny afternoons. What surprised me most was how natural it all felt. There was no drama, no complicated expectations. Just two people slowly learning to understand each other beyond the labels that had once defined us. The seasons began to change. The heavy sadness that had filled my life after the divorce slowly gave way to something gentler, something lighter. For the first time in months, I began to feel like myself again. One evening, nearly 4 months after the courthouse day, Zara and I sat on a quiet bench overlooking a small lake in the park. The sun was setting, painting the water in shades of gold and orange. In that peaceful moment, I realized something profound. The end of my marriage had once felt like the destruction of my entire future. But sometimes life closes one chapter not to punish us, but to guide us somewhere unexpected. Zara had never tried to replace my past. Instead, she helped me rediscover hope. And slowly, carefully, a new connection grew between us, one built not on obligation, but on understanding. Eventually, I asked her the question she had once whispered to me. But this time, the words came from my heart. We didn't rush into anything. We took our time, allowing trust to grow naturally. And when we finally decided to build a life together, it wasn't out of rebellion against the past, but out of belief in the future. Today, when I think back to the moment outside the courthouse, I realize how strange life can be. What once felt like the darkest day of my life became the beginning of something I never expected. Because sometimes the person who sees your pain most clearly is also the one who believes in your happiness the most. And sometimes, the quietest whisper can change an entire life. Before we reach the end of this story, if this journey has touched your heart in any way, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Touch of Kindness. Stories like this remind us that kindness and courage can appear in the most unexpected places. And now, a special request for everyone watching. If you believe that second chances can lead to beautiful new beginnings, please comment the word hope below. Your message might encourage someone who is going through a difficult chapter right now. Because the truth is, life rarely unfolds the way we plan. But sometimes the most surprising paths lead us exactly where we were meant to be. And if this story moved you, even a little, please engage with the video so more people can discover it. You never know who might need to hear that even after heartbreak, a new beginning might be waiting just around the corner.